China has been suggested to have the advantage over the U.S. in a potential conflict over the Asia-Pacific, according to a maritime professor. Lyle Goldstein, research professor at the Naval War College's China Maritime Studies Institute, said the U.S. would likely lose a first fight with the People's Liberation Army (PLA). Washington and Beijing have repeatedly raised tensions with naval drills in disputed Asian waters over the past year, with China enraged over the U.S.'s support of Taiwan, and presence in the South China Sea. Mr. Goldstein warned it is very plausible the U.S. has no guarantee of victory in the first phases. While the expert accepted China and U.S. conflict scenarios vary wildly, he added all of them are extremely challenging for Washington. Mr. Goldstein argued the situation is actually considerably darker for U.S. troops beyond the opening rounds of a potential conflict. He added, "I think China now has adequate forces, including air, missile, electronic warfare, spec ops, naval, undersea and nuclear to likely prevail in the first phase and perhaps in subsequent phases too." Mr. Goldstein said China's weaponry is quite important in giving an edge over the U.S. But he said Beijing mainly has an upper hand over the U.S. because of 1. Favorable geography, and thus interior lines, 2. Greater will core interests, and 3. A willingness to strike first. The expert then referenced flashpoints of U.S. and China tension, including Taiwan and the South China Sea. In regards to Taiwan, Mr. Goldstein suggested a conflict over the island exaggerates all these advantages for China. James E. Fennell, a retired U.S. Navy captain who served as Director of Intelligence and Information Operations for the U.S. Pacific Fleet, also told China has caught up with U.S. military power. He said, over the course of the past 2 decades the PRC has changed the military balance of power across the Indo-Pacific. Beyond outproducing the U.S. Navy in the number of warships at a rate of 4-to-1, the PLA Strategic Rocket Force has put U.S. aircraft carriers at risk with the fielding of the DF-21D and DF-26 anti-carrier ballistic missiles. The PLA's counter-intervention strategy, just a concept 2 decades ago, is now a reality within the Second Island chain, and continues to expand at an alarming rate across the rest of the region. U.S. President Joe Biden has promised to defend Taiwan's sovereignty, and to challenge China's aggression in the South China Sea. In February, the guided missile destroyer USS Russell steamed within 12 nautical miles of the Spratly Islands in the South China Sea, almost all of which Beijing claims as its sovereign territory. Lieutenant Joe Kiley, a spokesman for the U.S. Navy's 7th Fleet, said in a statement, "This Freedom of Navigation Operation upheld the rights, freedoms, and lawful uses of the sea recognized in international law by challenging unlawful restrictions on innocent passage imposed by China, Vietnam and Taiwan." A spokesman for the PLA warned in a report the operation seriously violated China's sovereignty and security, gravely undermined regional peace and stability, and deliberately disrupted the good atmosphere of peace, friendship, and cooperation in the South China Sea. China regards Taiwan as part of its mainland territory, and has threatened to reclaim the island by force. But the Chinese Defense Ministry's Information Bureau said in a statement on Monday it will not take any more land in response to a question on China's national defense strategy. They said, "We cannot lose a single inch of the lands we inherited from our ancestors, and we would not take a single cent of others' possessions." It then added, "Never expanding and never seeking spheres of influence are the distinctive features of China's national defense in the new era."